G'day folks and welcome to Creative Conversations. I'm Dave Fuller and today with me all the way from Florida is Gretchen Kish Serrano, who is an artist, and she's going to talk to us today about her life as an artist and her creativity. Welcome, Gretchen.
Hello, David. Thank you.
So it's early in the morning there. It's
7 a.m. Almost
7 a.m. past 7. It's 9, heading towards 9:30 here in Melbourne, Australia. And
yeah, crazy.
So as I've said before on this show, I love the interwebs and how we can connect across the world with our computers.
I love it too. It's amazing.
It's
I don't
cool.
get to travel the way I would like. So just hearing your accent, I feel like I'm traveling.
I have an accent. I had never
Yes. Yeah, you do.
I'm pretty sure no one can understand a word I say, but there you go. That's all right. Once again, welcome and thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you giving us some time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you have a drink with you, and I always like to start with what people choose to drink as a creative. I want to see if there's a pattern here. That's why I asked the question, folks, by the way. I'm curious.
I have my iced coffee. I like
coffee. Iced coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I have a short black, which I pretty much always have. Doesn't vary. Why coffee or why iced coffee?
Well, iced coffee to me is kind of like dessert. So I was never a coffee drinker because I don't like the aftertaste.
Right.
But actually, I started drinking coffee when I did my first trade show. And I was staying up late at night painting dogs for my first trade show. And that's when I started drinking coffee regularly.
There you go. Late nights will do that to you.
Yeah. And so then beyond that, I like it sweet and I like it like dessert. So
dessert for breakfast. I like that. Works for me on multiple levels. Very good. So you've mentioned you paint dogs, and we'll get into that as we go. What I will do later on, I'll post this. I'll put your links to your website, your social media, if you like, on the show notes so people can find your art and have a look at what you do. So, all right. When did you know that you were creative? Was there a light bulb moment or something you always knew?
Probably as a kid in school in art classes. My projects looked a little bit better than some of the others, and I always enjoyed doing them. So I suppose that's when it first started, the realization.
What sort of age was that?
The age I'm thinking is 7th grade. So 12.
11, 12, yeah.
Yeah.
Had you always drawn or?
I'm sure I did. I also have not the best memory, so I'm not going to, if I was like drawing at 4, I'm not going to remember.
Fair enough. Make it up. It's okay. No one's going to know.
That's me. Yeah.
No, fair enough. Do you come from an artistic family? Is it?
Yes, my mother is an artist, and my grandmother was an artist. Not professionally, but always painting and drawing. So yes.
So you were around it from a young age.
Yes, definitely.
Was there a point at time in which you thought, wow, I really want to pursue this as a career. This is my great love, my great passion. Was you just drifted to it?
Yeah, my mother was a commercial artist and an illustrator. And so I saw that as a career for, from the time I was very young. And so, so that was my first thought, to be a graphic designer. And that's the direction I went. And then in college, I saw all the fine artists, and those are, that's what I wished I was doing.
Right.
But I was a bit more practical at the time.
So started off in graphic design or graphic art.
Exactly, but plenty of side painting and art classes, which at least gave me some of what I wanted,
Now I've seen some of your art, not all of it, of course. I've seen some of it, and it's fantastic, folks. And I encourage you all to get along and have a look at it. You have a particular style or a particular love of a certain animal, it would appear too.
Yes, I do love dogs. I do.
And when did that start happening? Did you always paint dogs, or is it?
Yes. No, not always. I think that when I tell the story why I decided to paint dogs, that's really when I first started calling myself an artist, because to identify with saying I'm an artist, that took a while versus someone who just, paints and draws. And I think that I took some art courses at the Art Institute in Chicago, and even in some of my other art classes, they have you copy a master painting for practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a dear friend with a beautiful little girl, and I decided to paint her daughter in a master work of art. And so that turned out kind of nice. And so I don't know, I just thought, well, let me try my dog. That's kind of how that evolved. I had painted my own pets before, but it's when I had kind of the spark that maybe I should, really try to paint more dogs. I don't know.
It works.
It works. I love them. They make me happy. At the time I had adopted my dog in Chicago at Anti-Cruelty, and we were going out for a walk every single day. And I started running a little bit, and she kind of changed my life. She got me out in the world. I just don't think I would have done that if I didn't have her to go with me or make me go. So
yeah, fair enough. They're good for that too.
Yeah.
So what sort of challenges have you faced in trying to pursue your creativity? What
well, for me, the biggest challenge was I had already a full-time job and career. And so I started my art business on the side of my day job. So that has been about 10 years now. And that's been the biggest challenge, is kind of finding the time to paint and create on the weekends. And as a freelancer, that helped, because every once in a while I would get a week, and that's a painting week. I would paint all week. So that was a big challenge.
And have you encountered resistance to pursuing your art?
Interesting. Resistance from other people?
Oh, any sort of
Anytime?
resistance. Well, that's a good question. Well, let's break it down. Resistance internally and resistance from other people.
Internally, I think once I decided to do it, I don't think I resisted myself so much. But I think when you paint dogs, it's kind of funny the response you get sometimes, which I find interesting, because I think all of us would agree that, if your house were on fire, you would grab your kids and your pet first. But when I tell people I paint dogs, sometimes they're like, really? Oh, isn't that cute? Well, don't you want to paint anything else? I hear that a lot. So maybe a little bit of resistance in that way when I was, you start telling people, this is my dream, and everyone's dreams are different.
Yeah.
And this is mine. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about painting then.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience with painting is somewhat limited. It's limited to painting walls with a roller. What's your process? How do you go about it? Do you? I'm curious about people's routines, their habits, their thought patterns. Where do you start?
Well, in my art specifically, one of the things that's a bit different is that I paint in a lot of different art styles. And so it varies depending on what style I'm painting in. I paint in oils and acrylics, and I've been painting with house paint lately. I do drip paintings like Jackson Pollock.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually rented my first art studio. So maybe I'll talk about that, because that's the painting I'm working on right now. And I have to go to Home Depot and buy gallons of paint and pints of paint. And I need a big space to drip. And I lay the canvas down flat on a surface and drip. And then I layer the paint and then I let it dry. And it is a dog. I'm dripping a painting of a dog. I'm working on a commission right now. And then I'll go back later today and I'll stand it up, and I need to step back from it. I need to see it from a distance to see it. Because when you're up close dripping, it's hard to kind of, tell what's happening. And I'm excited about that style of painting, because when you look up close, it's just beautiful colors and it looks very abstract. And when you step back from a distance, it looks quite detailed. It's kind of a cool optical illusion. So that's my process on those paintings.
So do you have a place you go, a studio?
Yes, I have for almost a year now, and that's been wonderful.
And is that a routine? Do you go at the same time? Do you?
That's something I'm working on. That is something I'm working on. I still have a lot of other things I'm doing at the same time, because I'm working on my website and I'm working on some design projects. And so I'm in the office and then I go to the studio, and I thought, well, I'll go to the studio every day for maybe 5 hours, 4 hours, and then I'll come home and do everything. And that hasn't been working. So now I'm testing. Every Monday I'll do all the more business type things that need to get taken care of. And then I'll have a full day at the studio. So that's what I've been doing lately, is try to break it up by days. But sometimes when I'm drip painting, I don't need a full day there. I just need a few hours, because it needs to dry and be, reevaluated. So
I'm always curious about habits and superstitions and these sorts of things with any creative. Do you have, I don't know, a go-to set of brushes that you always use the same ones, or that you never use them twice, or anything of that sort of nature? I'm curious.
No.
Nothing like that? No.
I'm thinking, am I superstitious?
Well, habitual more than superstition then. Are there little routines or steps that you go through when you begin painting?
Oh, well, sure. I do have a desk I set up at the studio with, I have a couple easels, because I do paint oil paintings on easels. And just set up, my basic setup, making sure the table's clean and cleared off and scraped from yesterday's paint and whatever I have to do that way, and setting out my colors. And I set up my laptop here because I have the photo of the dog I'm painting, and print out I have books, and a lot of times I'll tab books from the master artists that I'm inspired by, and I'll select a couple paintings that I want to refer to as I'm painting. And so that's a bit more of, I guess, the process or the habit. I like being surrounded by my inspirations.
Well, it was a question I was going to ask you, really, how about inspiration and how you source inspiration and what inspires you.
Oh, well, that's fun. That's fun. One of the things I really like about these drip paintings I keep talking about is I went ahead and just painted a bunch of them, and I have them hanging on the walls of my studio. And I'm talking about putting them elsewhere, but I love being surrounded by my art, because that inspires me too. And I have all these dogs hanging on the walls, kind of looking at me, which is kind of fun. But also, as far as these different paintings, each one I did a completely different color palette. And that's fun. I like to do different things. I like to change it up. That's where I've had my art is not one style that looks very consistent throughout. And I know a lot of times that's what artists are encouraged to do. And that can be really cool. But for me, I've always just tried to do something different. That's what I've enjoyed. And sometimes I'll go online and I'll just look for color reference. I'll look for color palettes. I'll just search just colors. And that's really been fun. And I love, Pinterest or whatever. And then I'll just print out images, but they're really just for the color palettes that I like.
Well, you touch on an interesting point there. So if you're going online and you're researching, how do you capture those moments of inspiration so you don't lose them? You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned Pinterest. Do you create like Pinterest boards? Are there other things that you use?
Yeah, I'm still, sometimes I'll just go to Google Images and I'll just type in a certain image. And so I haven't done a lot of Pinterest really,
No?
boards and things. Because I always say, maybe I'm just a scattered personality anyways. And I love saying I'm an artist because that's my excuse, which is not fair to other artists. Um, but I just, with having the day job all these years and the dream, the art on the side is my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I say it's left me a bit scattered, because I start a little bit here, then I have to go back and do something else. So I just bounce around. And so I haven't been really, I just got on Instagram not too long ago. So that's something I'm getting into and enjoying, and seeing artists there has been, that's inspirational as well. It's fun to see people, the process of other artists too. So
are there particular artists that really inspire you? That you look up to?
well,
Wow, I would like to be them.
You mean on Instagram?
On anywhere. Just
Oh, on anywhere. Well, I just, as you know, I'm inspired by Gustav Klimt. I love his art, and Van Gogh. I don't want to be Van Gogh.
no,
So
like you're
yeah,
in.
yeah. No, I don't know. That's a good question. I think I'm kind of happy being who I am and doing what I'm doing. So, and I find inspiration everywhere. I really do. So that's, I on Instagram, just seeing some of the other artists. I don't know. Everywhere I'm inspired.
Yeah,
My dog inspires me.
well, dogs clearly inspire you, and I have looked through your art on I think it's Facebook or your website. I can't remember which one now. I've seen both. There's some fantastic pieces there. The Salvador Doggy, I think it's called. Love
Well,
Salvador
actually,
Dali.
for that one, I did go to the Dali Museum in St.
Ah.
Petersburg, Florida, which was amazing, because you see certain pieces over and over, but then to go see, so much of his work was incredible.
I'd love to see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do you handle distractions, Gretchen? Because if you've got family, you've got clients,
Mm-hmm.
day job. How do you handle those distractions?
I'm thinking of your Pebble right now, and just keep going. I just keep going. Um, I my husband will, he would watch the kids when I needed to be in the studio and paint. And I have a lot of distractions. I've had a lot. My mother tells me all the time, I don't know how you can do what you do. When she creates, she needs nothing else going on. And and she's like, I can't even start until I have a day where there's nothing. And I used to think that way, and I got over it, because that day will never come. So I just pick my day, and I tell everybody this is what I'm doing, and then I just have at it, and hope for the best.
And pick it up if you get distracted.
Yes.
Do you suffer from shiny toy syndrome or shiny object syndrome?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
I have so many ideas, and I think that's a good thing, but it makes me chase a lot of directions. Maybe that's why I couldn't pick one art style. What if I did this? What if I try that? And it's fun, because honestly, as a graphic designer, as an artist, I'm very graphic. Even in the drawing classes, when I would draw the figure drawings, my figures always looked more graphic and hard edged than the free flowing. I'm not a Michelangelo. I don't draw like that. And that's one thing I love about painting and all the different art styles. It's really allowed me to loosen up, and kind of learn to be a little bit gentler with my art. in certain instances. I forget your question though.
So it doesn't matter.
I'm rambling. I do that. I ramble.
I asked about distractions and shiny toy syndrome. That's what I was trying
I'm distracting myself.
and me. That's good.
Yep.
I'm easily
Yeah.
distracted. A squirrel. Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, shiny object for sure.
Absolutely. Is there a piece of art that you're particularly proud of?
Yes, there's a couple. The Salvador doggy makes me very happy.
And me?
I chose the Basset Hound because it's a droopy dog.
Yeah.
And I did get to go to the museum and really put a lot of thought into that. A lot of people will say, "Oh, she just takes dogs and puts them in a master painting," and it's like, no, not really. I'm inspired by the master, but a lot of thought went into what elements to show in that work, and also my greyhound. I did a painting inspired by Klimt of greyhounds. And I did my first gold leafing on that painting. I'd never done that before.
I was going to ask you about
And
gold.
the head of the Greyhound Rescue here in Florida actually got tears in her eyes looking at that painting, which it kind of surprised me, to think that you create art and it could actually really bring out emotion in someone. So that was something. It was kind of cool.
How big are these? It's looking at something on a website or Instagram. You don't get a feel for the physical size. How big are these paintings?
Well, my Klimt greyhounds are, I think they're 48 by 48, something like that. They're pretty big.
Yeah.
But my Salvador doggy, I should have grabbed it. It's I don't know, this big. It's not real big.
Not that big. No?
And then, but my drip paintings, the biggest one, I'm wondering if that might be the 48 by 48. So I don't know. The drip paintings are quite large. And it's been fun to paint on the big scale. Yeah. So I don't know. I have a range of sizes, I guess.
Let's think about for a moment that young Gretchen, 11, 12 years old, 7. What advice would you give her about pursuing an artistic life?
I think if, you hear so much about following your heart, following your dreams. And I think what would have happened if I did study art in college, if I just went right into it. Sometimes I wonder about that. But on the flip side, because of what I'm doing now, I think that my graphic design background really helps me with composition and concepting. So what would I tell Gretchen? I think I would want her to pursue art sooner, and I would actually like her to I think I started trying to reach out and learn more later in life, and I would like her to know that as a young person, you learn for the rest of your life and keep looking for ways to learn and grow. Maybe, I don't know, the internet is so amazing now that we can all learn so many things that, they're right there at your fingertips. So maybe that's part of it too. I think the kids now probably are doing more of that. But that's probably what I would tell her.
Very good. Where to next, Gretchen? What's coming up? What are you hoping to do? What's the big dream?
The big dream.
Well,
I have my product business and I have my original art business, and they're related. But the big dream started with Paw Palettes, which I know you're going to put a link to. And I wanted to paint all breeds, and cats too. I have some cats, but it's a matter of time. But my big dream is to have the largest pet art collection in the world. That's a pretty big dream.
That's a pretty
And
big dream.
created by one person, but I want to paint. I want people who have a breed of dog and they want a little gift item or artwork of their pet. They can find something to gift to a friend. It's like when you give someone a gift of something of their breed of pet, it just shows that you understand the love in their heart for their pet. And so that's something that I'm passionate about. I want to keep creating. I want more and more and more. But then my original art is to work with customers directly, my clients, and create something special and unique just for them. So I just want to be able to create full time all the time and keep growing this collection. That's my dream.
Beautiful. And just, you mentioned products. What are the products?
I started with note cards, and we make coffee mugs. And recently I found a website called Printful that you can link to your own website. And then they will create additional products and they will pack it and ship it. So I tried licensing for a while, and because I have so many breeds, one company doesn't want to produce products of that many breeds, but I do. I want to be able to offer everything to all pet lovers. So I'm excited about linking to this site to my site, and I can do tote bags and pillows and t-shirts, and I just think it's fun. There's just a lot of ways to enjoy art. And so that would be one avenue I'm definitely pursuing. And then I'm trying to get out in the world. When people see the original art, it's so different, like you were saying, David, as far as seeing it. You don't know how big it is. The drip paintings have texture to them. People always want to touch the painting. That's something you can't experience unless it's in person. And so that's what I'm focusing on now, is getting my original art out in front of people so that they can experience it, maybe feel that emotion, some of them, and then hopefully get some more, be able to work with more clients and create more originals.
Excellent. And as I said, I will put links to your website and your social media links in the show notes for people to get along and have a look at, and hopefully
Great.
Maybe buy some of that product, which would be nice. Help you get on with what you love doing.
I would appreciate that. Yeah.
If there was no restrictions in terms of time, money, materials, what would you love to paint? Is there any canvas that you would go, that's a canvas I would love to paint?
Oh, interesting. I think initially I always wanted to paint people. I've always loved drawing people. And when I love big paintings of faces. I love big, big paintings. And I think I would probably do a little bit of that. I'm not, and I like simple paintings. I don't think I'm going to do a lot of complicated things. I think that's the graphic nature in me. I like impactful images. But I see a lot of, I think a lot of the work that I see is probably that. And then I see some abstract paintings that I really admire, but that to me would confuse me. I don't know. I mean, it'd be fun to try. It would be fun to try. I kind of like having a bit more of a plan. And so that would be fun to see how that would go, just to play, I guess. But yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to keep you much longer. I know you have family waiting in the background wanting to come in and take over the household, as they do. I'll ask you to give some thought to this. You don't have to answer now, but is there someone that you'd love me to interview? It can be someone you know, perhaps you can introduce me to, or several people, or just someone you'd love me to try and get to interview. Give that some thought.
Okay.
And someone you go, I would just love to hear their take on, and it doesn't have to be art. It can be any creative pursuit. Um, anyone come to mind, or you can tell me at some later stage if you like.
Yeah, let me think about that.
I'll let you think about it. I will let you go. I'll let you get on with your day and get on with creating some wonderful art.
And thank you, David. I really appreciate it.
Once again, people, I encourage you all to jump on the links and have a look and have a look at Gretchen's work, because it's wonderful. I will stop the recording now, Gretchen, and we'll have a quick chat before we disappear.
Okay.
Thank you again.
All right. Thanks so much.